Why is 95% of Australia empty? Australia, the sixth largest country in the world, is so vast that two Indias could fit inside it. Yet, astonishingly, 95% of this massive land remains empty and uninhabited even today. If you look at this map of Australia, you'll notice something peculiar: the tiny yellow dots. These are the only areas where people actually live. Believe it or not, 90% of the Australian population is crammed into just 0.22% of the land area. That's less than 1%. Most Australians live in just 5 major cities: Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide. The deeper you go into the interior of the continent, away from the coast, the tougher it becomes to survive. But why is that? What makes this beautiful, rich land so barren and empty? Well, the answer lies not just in geography but also in a deep, painful history, a history that was hidden not just from Indians but from much of the world. The forgotten people of Australia. Before British colonisation, Australia was home to its original inhabitants, the Aboriginal Australians and Torres Strait Islanders. These indigenous communities lived off the land for over 60,000 years, hunting, gathering, and respecting the earth as sacred. Their culture was deeply spiritual, and unlike Western concepts of ownership, they didn't own land in the way Europeans did. When British ships arrived on January 26, 1788, at Botany Bay, modern-day Sydney, they brought with them not just settlers, but also convicts, criminals, and a colonial agenda. They declared the land terra nullius, Latin for land belonging to no one, even though it clearly belonged to the indigenous people. At first, the Aboriginal people welcomed the British, unaware that this would be the beginning of their near extinction. A hidden genocide. As more settlers arrived, two catastrophic things happened. Deadly diseases. Europeans brought new illnesses: smallpox, measles, bronchitis, scarlet fever, diseases that the native population had no immunity against. Entire communities were wiped out. In some areas like Sydney and Port Phillip, over 50% of the population died in just 1 year due to smallpox. Land seizure and violence. The British began fencing off land, a completely foreign concept to Indigenous Australians. Access to clean water, food, and traditional hunting grounds was restricted. Indigenous men were forced into slave labor, women were abused, and even pregnant women were made to dive for pearls in deep, dangerous waters. The atrocities continued. As land theft increased, so did resistance. In 1795, the Aboriginal people rose up, launching a resistance that turned into a war lasting over 100 years. But the British military was brutal. By 1900, Australia's indigenous population had plummeted from around 3 to 7.5 million to just 30,000 to 75,000. World wars and a white-only policy. But the trauma didn't stop there. During World War I, the British sent thousands of Australians, especially Indigenous men, to fight in Europe. According to official records, 1 in every 5 soldiers didn't return. In World War II, Japanese air raids bombed northern Australia over 90 times, killing many more. Add to this the Immigration Restriction Act of 1901, also known as the White Australia Policy, which deliberately discouraged the immigration or growth of non-white populations, especially Asians and Indigenous people. This policy remained in effect for decades, choking Australia's population growth and diversity. So why is most of Australia still empty? Even though Australia's population has now grown to 26 million, only 3.8%, about 1 million people, are Indigenous. That's less than the population of a small Indian town. But the question remains, why, despite modern development, is 95% of Australia still uninhabited? The answer lies in Australia's harsh geography and climate. Western Plateau covers 2/3 of the land and is mostly desert. Unlivable. Central Lowlands. The rivers here are often salty and unsuitable for drinking or farming. Eastern Highlands. Fertile and habitable, but even here, extreme weather makes life tough. Australia suffers from 3 major climatic challenges. Scorching desert heat. Frequent floods. Cyclones. In the south, cold Antarctic waters prevent cloud formation and rainfall. Meanwhile, the center burns under the desert sun. So naturally, people have settled along the more stable eastern and southern coastal regions. Conclusion: a land of beauty, pain, and survival. Australia is a land of contrast, home to stunning natural beauty, rich culture, and rare wildlife, but also marked by a history of colonial brutality, genocide, and racial exclusion. What we see today, 5 crowded cities in a giant empty land, is not just the result of geography but of centuries of systematic erasure. The story of Australia is not just about deserts and floods. It is about resilience, stolen identities, and the painful echoes of a past that still shapes its present. And now that you know, the next time you look at the empty heart of Australia on a map, you'll know, it's not just empty land. It's a land full of silent stories.